Hey y'all, how's it going? My name is Jasmine Dayton. I am a science fiction and fantasy... Oh, what word did I just say? Hey y'all, how's it going? My name is Jasmine Dayton. I am a science fiction writer and a fantasy writer, and today I am going to be going over some beta reader comments that I have gotten on my work. Now, I have tried to steer clear of reading these comments ahead of time. I kind of have an idea of what each of them say, but I haven't really delved into what exactly I'm gonna do to make these changes. Big shout out to all of my beta readers. You know who you are, and I am so beyond grateful for all of the input that you guys gave me. I think that initially when I got beta readers, I was expecting to just be torn to shreds. I thought that this would be a editor situation where it's like bad exposition, this doesn't follow a good hero's journey arc, I don't like this character. But I feel like the beta readers that I have had, I am going to lose my mind with that thing. But I feel like the beta readers that I have had have been nothing but just so encouraging. They point out all of the things that they really like, which I really enjoy, and I've tried to do that with some of my beta reading as well now. But obviously they are very good at making constructive criticism, things that do need to change, and some things that I would have never caught. I've been watching some beta reader comment reactions, and I think that they're so much fun, so I wanted to do it for some of the things that have been beta read for me. If you want to see me any other places rather than YouTube, I am also on Instagram, and I'm starting a newsletter. So there's where you can find me, I guess. It's so weird plugging yourself into videos. I still have to get used to it. All right, we're logging in. Also, it is snowing like crazy outside. I'm in kind of the Kansas City area, and they are forecast to get crazy winter storms, so kind of taking advantage of the natural lighting that the snow gives, because it's really good lighting. The first thing that we're going to go over is my beta reader for my trilogy. I sent him the first 5 chapters, so in total I believe that he's gotten through 2 chapters and he has 92 comments. 92. It's a lot. He's very thorough, which is good because that's what I need. This is on, I believe it's 4th draft. The first few chapters are now on their 4th draft. So it has gone through several edits. I think it's definitely past the first draft-ish type of vibes. So you kind of have to dig deeper to find things that are wrong with it. I also made sure to ask him very specific questions with this beta reader project. I set these questions up to be optional because I didn't want to limit my beta readers just to these questions. This is just something to help you along of what I am searching for and what I am hoping I got right, and if I didn't, I definitely need to know. I'm gonna skip over any of them that are just like basic grammatical errors, because if we did that, we'd be here all day. Okay, I mentioned this in another one of my videos, but I'm still gonna mention it here. First comment that he has is on paragraph 2, where he says, I'm intrigued to know why the book is there, but unless she is a particularly temperamental person, I'm not sure why she would throw the book over her shoulder rather than dismissively drop it. Which is very true. I did not realize that I had my main character throwing as many things as I thought she was, which made her seem a lot more aggressive than I wanted her to be. She's certainly not very frilly and not incredibly feminine, but she also was not meant to be too angsty. I want just like a little bit of angst with the right people, but not with everybody. She's definitely a tough cookie to crack, but I don't want her to be seen as someone who's intolerable and someone that's a little bit tropey. So I think that was a really great catch there. All right, so after she tossed the book over her shoulder, I think that the point that I was trying to make here with her tossing books over her shoulders and stuff is that she does not consider this piece of material valuable. I was trying to think of how books would be valuable in this world, and I didn't want it to be outright all books are banned, just because I felt like that was a little bit too on the nose, and that's been used with a lot of post-apocalyptic government situations, but books just aren't really relevant. Like they're not made, and whenever they are brought in, I decided they're just used for firewood. Like they're just used as a way to produce flame, so they just don't value them as much. But it's not so much of a rebellion thing as it is a, we're just gonna use this as a different source. But I feel like she would collect books for that reason. Maybe it's just not very valuable to collect as a scavenger. I'm gonna have to figure out what exactly that's gonna mean for her, because she does pick up a book later that she doesn't want them finding out about because she doesn't want to give them the leather that is on the book. Like the actual binding of the book is nice leather. Maybe she just dropped the book. After dropping the book? After dropping the book. Did I say book beforehand though? I don't want to say book too many times. I am so excited to get my own laptop back. It's being fixed right now because I dropped my 40-ounce water bottle on top of it and it messed up the screen. So I'm using my husband's backup laptop and it's a pain in the ass. After dropping, okay, so the new sentence looks like, after dropping the book, she combed her fingers through her short chestnut hair to prevent it from obstructing the path ahead. That's still a lot of words. After dropping the book, she combed her fingers through her short chestnut hair, let's say, to survey the path ahead? Because there's the assumption that if she's combing her hair back, maybe there's a little bit more of an assumption for the reader that that's the reason why she put her hair back, was so she could see better, especially since she has like shorter hair. A lot of the times it can get like right in your face, like an obnoxious bang. There was another comment that he made about there being 2 books, where he said, if there are many books on the ground, it might help to describe or clarify that. Otherwise, killer look for Sage to find 2 books on the ground. And I think that because this is an old college town that she is scavenging, I think that it would make sense that there are a lot of books there. But again, I feel like I need to add in a detail about them being too much weight. Like books being too much weight and them just not being really all that valuable, because paper ignites pretty quickly and it doesn't produce a lot of fire. So it's really not worth the weight. Maybe I can add in a detail. So the sentence beforehand states, funny, there was a time she thought something like school would matter. Now it was a distant memory, and the once prized book, the once overpriced book was too heavy and not valuable enough to bring back. Okay, let me read that all together. Her left eyebrow arched, amused to find such insignificant literature. It reminded her of classes she took during her first year of college. Funny, there was a time she thought something like school would matter. Now it was a distant memory, and the once overpriced book was too heavy and not valuable enough to bring back. Does it sound like a lot of exposition? Yes. And I would love to get some additional thoughts from other beta readers if it's too much, because it could be too much. It could be too much. But books are somewhat of a theme throughout this series, so I wouldn't mind leaving it in. I also wouldn't be sad if it was left out. Okay, I think that he misunderstood a sentence here, which is actually quite funny because I can understand why he misunderstood a sentence. Okay, so the 2 sentences back to back here, this next part. Without looking any further, she stuck the book inside her jacket's inner pocket. It would only be a matter of time before they saw she was missing. He said, a little unclear, is the book a she, or is someone expecting her to return somewhere so she is running out of time to rummage through street books? There's not a lot left here, okay? Maybe books is all she's seeing. Which I could add a detail in there. I could add that. Maybe I could change, maybe I can add in some more. It's so weird that I'm adding in some more exposition. I think that beta readers are really good at catching where your imagination is filling in the blanks, but there are blanks inside of the page. I have heard that happen a lot with different beta readers. I'm only on page 2, and I've been doing this for like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, maybe even 20. Maybe something else I could say instead is I could make it another paragraph. It would only be a matter of time for this up. She stuck it inside of her jacket pocket. I'm trying to think of a way to say that her search was sparse. Maybe she's thinking about leaving. Let's say something like, even out of bounds, grew sparse with materials each day. It would only be a matter of time before they saw she was missing. She knew there had to be more somewhere. I don't love it. Even out of bounds grew sparse with materials each day. I like that sentence because that gives a little bit of a hint of supplies and what she does for work. Even out of bounds grew sparse with materials each day. It would only be a matter of time they saw she was missing. But she pressed forward, determined to find something, anything. Okay. Even out of bounds grew sparse with materials each day. It would only be a matter of time before they saw she was missing, but she pressed forward, determined to find something, anything. I like the way that sentence sounds a bit better. It sounds a little bit more like the voice of the narrator, even though the narrator is just this very obscure third person kind of deal. It could literally be anybody dictating the story. Even out of bounds grew sparse with materials each day. It still sounds kind of choppy. It had already been an hour and all she had found was this and... What else could she have found? Even underground superstition, it would only be a matter of time before they saw she was missing. It had already been an hour and all she had found was this and expired food packets. Let's say that. Because that definitely would not be something that the safe house would be very happy about, but if it's like crackers or something, crackers don't really go bad, they just go stale, so it's something. So we can see now that she's getting a little bit desperate to find things. Okay, this is another example about how I just went crazy with descriptors. And rereading it, I agree. The sentence reads, she ignited a spotlight in the room with the help of her bulky flashlight tucked away in the side pocket of her pack. And the response to the comment was, I think I know what you're trying to say here, but if the end result is that she's using her flashlight to see, I think this could be simplified a bit. Fair enough, I agree. We can just say she clicked her bulky flashlight on and combine the first sentence of the next paragraph. So now it reads, she clicked her bulky flashlight on and with new eyes she could see the lobby in complete shambles. I like that. This is working out really nicely. Scroll down, computer. I don't know what it is, but everything Google has been so finicky and so slow. And everyone's probably gonna say, yeah, it's probably because they fired a bunch of people to hire AI. Yeah, it's probably because, I know it's all a mess. I'm just irritated as a user, that's all. And I use Google frequently. Like, it's the main thing that I use in my household. I have Google Homes. I use Google pretty frequently for my occupation. Like, I know Google. Google can be better than this. Ooh, we love a positive, I love this comment whenever you're reading for beta readers. For the sentence where I said the memory of laughter faded, she didn't remember much of what happened afterwards, but it was the last time she saw Catherine alive. He put in a note, I love this. It plays out in my head like a movie scene with the scene fading back to present, very graceful interjection. I mean, yeah, it's... Thank you. Thank you. That's what a normal person would say thank you. But like, that's what I want. That's the number one thing that I want when I am writing things is, can you picture it inside of your head like a movie? I know not everyone can do that. I would love to do more of a video on the different ways that people's brains and minds visualize things. Because it's very fascinating and interesting to me and also correlates with reading and writing. But he does have a correction on the same page as well. They're playing pool right now. In the memory, they're playing pool. She picked up her stick for a turn as Kat leaned over the side. And he says, the mention of playing pool is pretty fleeting. Might be worth saying she chalked the tip of her stick and aimed at the cue or something to the effect to clarify that they're playing pool. Which is great because I didn't know those different phrases about playing pool. I don't play a lot of pool. So it was good that he picked up on that and was like, I don't know if everybody else can tell that these guys are playing pool, so maybe put pool specific descriptors in here. So instead, I'm gonna go for she aimed at the cue. She picked up her stick. Is there a specific descriptor for the sticks they use in pool? What are the sticks used in pool called? Cue sticks. Okay, so, and aimed at the cue. I think that that's funny. She picked up her stick and aimed at the cue as Cat leaned over the side. Simple, but I think that it still describes pool well enough, hopefully. We'll see if I can get any other beta readers to give any sort of insight on that. Oh, something else that's also so interesting when you become a beta reader, because I am beta reading some of his stuff as well, is learning different words that you didn't know were part of the English language. So you're like, oh, I think that this isn't a correct word, but to be sure, you look up, is this an actual word in English? And turns out it is. English cannot have enough words, so they just keep making more of them. All right, another example of tossing cans over her head, but in this case, I think I'm gonna keep it. And the reason I think I am going to keep it is because in this scene, she is irritated. So she's kind of putting on a little bit of a tantrum here. But now that I got rid of the last throwing situation, I think I'm gonna keep this one. But he does add in a really good detail here that I could add. With the situation being semi-tense between Sage and Hunter, it might be worth mentioning how loud the can is when it crashes back to the floor, which I think I am gonna use. So the sentence right now reads, you can keep telling yourself that, she said before promptly tossing the tin over her head. Instead of over her head, tossing the tin off to the side, clanks echoing in the writing is hard. Keep telling yourself that, she said before promptly tossing the tin off to the side, its clanks echoing the concrete floor. Okay, you can keep telling yourself that, she said before promptly tossing the tin off to the side, its clanks echoing against the concrete floor. I like that. Okay, we're rolling with it for now. Ooh, we ran into a clumsy sentence. The only comment he said is, this sentence feels a little clumsy. And I couldn't agree more. The sentence reads, he couldn't get up before she had already ran out of the building, handcuffs still behind her back. Maybe I could say, before he could get up. We can make it more of like a positive sentence rather than negatives. I think that's why it sounded a little bit choppy, was because of a lot of negative connotations in there. Sage had already run out of the building. Her building still handcuffed? Let's see how that reads. Before he could get up, Sage had already run out of the building, still handcuffed. I like it. Okay, that feels a lot less clumsy, and it's simplified, and it still gives the same imagery. He couldn't get up, but rather than saying, oh, he couldn't get up and Sage ran out, it was what they all could do. So it kind of all matches. Okay, that's everything for chapter 1. I can't believe that we ended up getting through almost everything. Okay, so I wanted to go over the questions that he answered. Does the dialogue seem realistic enough, or are some lines more corny than others? So you wrote down, I like the dialogue. Some of it is a little corny, but not in an off-putting way. I may return to read this chapter again with a specific attention on the dialogue. Fair enough. I think that the dialogue, especially in chapter 1, could be considered more corny. So I would love to get some other insights of people that perhaps are a little bit more sensitive to corny dialogue. I know that my husband is very put off by corny dialogue. I kind of like it. It's a little bit fun for me. Like, I understand that it's corny, but that's kind of the fun part of it. Number 2, are the characters likable? Do you want to root for them? Why or why not? I like the characters very much. By the end of this chapter, I'm starting to become attached to Sage, particularly because of the emotional connection you invoked with the flashback, which I found so interesting because that was not my plan with the flashback. The flashback was just supposed to give a little bit of a connection of why she was there in the first place, and kind of giving a bit of the way that life used to be kind of moment for her to kind of give plot exposition. But I did not think that that at all was going to be kind of like a save the cat moment. I specifically put in a different save the cat moment that was not the flashback. So it's kind of cool that that's what he connected with was, oh, she used to be a normal person that just liked to play pool with her friend kind of deal. I think Hunter is likable, but he feels like Gale in the Hunger Games, and I was more of a PETA guy, green flag, but definitely rooted for Sage in the fighting parts. And I think that that is where I want Hunter's character to be right now. I don't want people to know a lot about Hunter yet. I definitely think that I nailed the kind of on the surface type of facade that he gives off, which is what I wanted to do. So I'm like, okay, that's good to know that it's working. Is there a good flow to the story? Is there something that pushes you to keep reading? Why or why not? He said, the chapter felt very cohesive and I found it easy to continue reading. I think you had some intriguing detail on every page, which made me want to find out what was next. And I want to continue reading into chapter 2, both because I want to know more about the world they're in and because I want to know I want to know what that Dick Hunter is about to do with Sage. Oh, did I make him seem like too much of a dick? Maybe a little. Was there anything that you would change about what you have read? There is a bit more line editing that I think would be beneficial, but nothing regarding the story itself. I'm also a comment slut, so I feel like there needed to be more commas in more places, but that may be my overuse of them coming into play. I feel like this question is definitely a little bit more targeted towards the later chapters, because obviously chapter 1, you're just being introduced to everything and everyone, and if you have enough of your ducks in a row, you can pull it off. But as the story goes on, it gets a lot more complicated to try and make sure that all of the pieces are fitting together just right and you're not running into any sort of plot holes. But I'm glad to see that in chapter 1, everything is pretty set and solid, because if your chapter 1 is not set and solid, then there's nothing that you can work off of for the rest of the story. Is there anything about the plot or characters' actions that didn't make sense to you? I do feel like either Sage needs to continue her habit of throwing things over her shoulder, or she should learn how to set things down, which has been corrected. What parts did you like the best? Do you have a favorite character? I liked the brief yet vivid descriptions of the setting. I always felt like I knew where Sage and Hunter were and what was around them. Also, your fight scene writing is good, which is awesome to hear, because writing fight scenes is not easy. You really have to think about exactly what's going on, and the best way to simply yet very creatively show what's happening. My favorite character is the second book Sage finds. Kidding. Sage is my favorite character so far, which also was very surprising to me, because the times beforehand when I had some people beta reading this book that I knew a little bit more closely, they did not like Sage very much. To be fair, I did make her a lot more angsty and a little bit more intolerable in the first few drafts, and I made her a little bit more apathetic yet still motivated by a very personal vendetta, but that's made me feel a lot better, as that Sage is a more likable character, because you obviously want to like the main character. No least favorite parts yet, which is good. I'm glad that I at least was able to cover the first chapter of having not too bad of parts. Number 8, were you able to get a good grasp of the setting? Was there anything that could have been described better? He said the setting was easy to grasp and it was easy to picture the characters in the setting. I will think more about what could be described better, but overall, I am a fan of the story. Which is great to hear. He was very generous with a lot of the things that he said, for sure. But that just goes to show that there was at least something with the story that he really enjoyed. And I am very happy to hear about that. So that was only chapter 1. I believe that he has beta read 2 chapters, or at the very least put in the corrections for the first 2 chapters. But we're gonna stop for today. I feel like we already did get a good amount of beta reading done for the first chapter, and I also need to go back to work. It is a real struggle to try and film these different videos while you work an 8 to 5 and you basically are indoors before the sun rises and after the sun sets. So trying to get as much good lighting in here as possible. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful or at the very least enjoyable, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. This way I can know that you guys like watching these videos and I can make more of them for you. Also, please let me know if you want any sort of beta reading advice, or if you think it would be helpful for me to go over the different questions that I ask my beta readers and why I ask them those questions. I would love to hear your thoughts. But until then, sayonara, you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.